Welcome back to Swansea Walk. What a difference a week makes. Top debut with Lewis O'Brien, and what a result at Bristol City. Welcome back. We are, of course, recording this before the midweek game, so do skip ahead. But we're talking about who impressed against Bristol City, and then we're talking about the transfer window reflections. Was somebody sleeping at the club? We'll get James and Hugh's reaction to all of that in a second. Who's our worst ever Swansea City manager? We've done the worst ever Swansea City side. That's on the screen now. We'll come back to that at the end. But who should manage this awful 11? We'll get James's Hugh's view on that as well. Plus, it's Valentine's Day, of course. Of course, this week we're asking James and Hugh how they first fell in love with the Swans. So stay tuned for that. But, James, you were at Bristol City and the away end. I thoroughly enjoyed a good old Saturday afternoon, didn't you, there?
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've seen us win there for, I think, about 2 or 3 years now. But my God, what a dreadful first half that was. Oh, my God. Both sides looked like two drunks fighting over a kebab in the middle of the town square. It was absolutely disgusting. But to win it, and to win it that way, and to see the limbs that it caused, yeah, you could see what it meant to the players and the fans there. Great feeling to win on the road, considering how devoid of confidence we've been. Really happy with it. Hopefully we can turn our fortunes around from here now.
Absolutely. Tore up the form books, didn't it? Good win versus the Wurzels, says this post. Maybe O'Brien is the rabbit's foot we needed to turn the tide. Looking forward to playing Wednesday on Wednesday. 2 wins in a row would be nice to lift us clear of the danger zone. Let's talk about O'Brien. Shall we? Signed, obviously, Hugh last week on loan. Great, tidy debut.
Yeah, I thought it was superb. As James said, the first half wasn't particularly great. I don't think anyone kind of set the world on fire in that half, but second half he was superb. He threw his body in the line. Excuse me. You saw that block towards the end, what it meant to him, what it meant to everyone, and just his work rate, chasing the ball down every 5 minutes, trying to get it back. Yeah, I thought he was superb. Great debut.
Yeah. Can we also mention Norton as well? Because he doesn't get too many mentions, does he? But thought he was superb, wasn't he, again, Hugh?
Love him. Absolutely loved him. I've loved him for, 10 years he's been at the club now. I think he's a brilliant player, loyal servant, like some people, Grimes. And,
let it go.
Like, especially against that Cardiff game last year when he was dead on his feet, he still absolutely threw himself into a tackle. Just gives 110% every time.
Yeah, that was heralded. Jack in a box says Viggs was man of the match for me, but Norton deserves it because he's barely kicked a ball, played out of position, and he was that player that settled us down. He was calm on the ball and just read the game when needed. Outstanding performance from him. Do you agree, James?
Yeah, he's just he ages like a fine wine. And 2 of the passes he played, he gave. I can't remember. One of them was to Vopotnik. We should have absolutely buried the chance because it was a fantastic ball through. And there was another one as well. 2 of our best passes came from him. And all the defensive work that he does, he rarely looks like he'll put a foot wrong. Like I said, when you play him in the back 3 as one of the centre backs, you very rarely worry. It's when they sort of try to push him back out into the full back position, things get a bit dicey, but he showed all his quality and why he's been such a fantastic servant yesterday.
Just a win on Ollie Cooper as well, Hugh, if you don't mind.
On Ollie Cooper, was that, sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, great to see him back. I know he had a few minutes in the game before, but yeah, great to see him back. It's like having another signing because he's missed, 19 games or something this season, so to have him and Josh Ginley back is great because we need all hands on deck for the next few months. So yeah, and he's a Swansea legend. Yeah.
This is from Jimmy, who's a friend of the show, of course. My word, did we need that? Get in. A stellar defensive effort, especially excellent from all of them. O'Brien and Vigouroux were brilliant. Franco started slow, but a turnaround second half. My team, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And of course, I'm sure you both agree with all that. Let's talk about Vigouroux, James, for a second then. Man of the match in many fans' eyes. Has he had a sluggish season compared to expectations, or has he just been in this slump like most of the players have in the last couple of months?
I think, to be fair, he's been one of our better players this season. I don't think people really knew what to expect of him. I think he sort of surpassed expectation, really. I mean, he's good with his distribution, perhaps not so much on Sunday, but throughout the season, his distribution has been fantastic. He's made some absolutely colossal saves for us. He made 2 on Sunday where if I think if anyone else is in net, we're 2-0 down before half-time. I'd say he surpassed expectation. He's had a few little blips, but nothing major. And considering we paid a nominal fee for him, and there wasn't really a lot of hyper expectation around him, I think he's done very well this season.
Okay. The only negative that we saw from that game was, I think, from this tweet. And James says, "Who looks at Ronaldo and thinks, yes, wing back?" Hugh, do you agree with this particular poster?
Yeah, I don't really know what his position is at the moment. He started off all right for us, and he's threatened to some glimpses of magic. He had a good goal, and I think it was in the League Cup, but he's square peg round hole a few times, and he's been a bit of a liability and zero-end product lately.
Can I just say on that one, there's a lot of people who think that he's an unfair target for criticism, but he is very, very hot and cold. Like on Sunday, if you watched him in the first half, I don't even think he knew what he was doing. I thought it was unfair to throw him in there. Second half, when they pushed him forward, he's a little bit better, but he has to be, if you look at his stats without context, you think he's having an all right season. But if you watch him game by game, you realise he's been off it for quite some time. So I think that there's this fallacy that he's an unfair target for criticism when he must do better and he must be more consistent because he's so patchy at the moment.
Yeah, it's almost a year, isn't it, James, when he first kind of came in? Have you had value there yet from him?
It's hard to say, really, because like I said, I always keep saying we're never going to sign the end product. And I think you can see the potential is there. But again, he similarly makes the same mistakes game after game. I think there was one instant in the commentary game where he goes one-on-one with his man and just stops running and turns and cuts the ball back. So I just don't understand why he does it. Because when he first came here, he was a live wire, always looking to take a player on. I still think there's a lot more that we can get from him. I don't know exactly how much we paid for him. Again, we've probably paid for potential. So I still think we're yet to see him live up to full expectations.
Okay. All right. It's a big week then in terms of games. 2 in 4 days or so. Hugh, obviously we're recording this before the midweek game against Sheffield Wednesday, and then Stoke City or trip to Stoke on Saturday. How many points do you expect to get out of those two?
Well, I think last week I predicted one, I think, out of all 4 games. So I think now I've changed. It's amazing how one game changes, isn't it? But I think we've got to fancy at least a point to 3 points on Wednesday. We've got to. And then Saturday, maybe at least a point again. So I'd say 4 points I'm going to go for.
Yeah, they're missing Barry Bannon, aren't they? And they've also got their key defender out as well. So you've got a bit of a threadbare Wednesday coming to you on Wednesday night. Last time we spoke to you, the transfer window was about to close. You were all both speaking last week about fingers crossed some things might happen. Not much did, James. And Coleman is getting, before the Bristol City game, was getting a lot of queries coming his way, including, I think, this one. Oh, not that one. That one. Yeah. Matt says, was Andy Coleman asleep for the first 30-odd days of the window? Yet again, another shambolic transfer window for Swansea. So much for a new era. Keen to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so this one is just rinse and repeat every year. So we spent the first 3 weeks of the window quarrelling with Wickham over Joe Lowe, offering tiny amounts for what the player is. Again, then get caught short at the back end of the window. It seems that this club, specifically Andy Coleman, now think that all business gets done at the back end of the window. And we've got a fans forum coming up, and I know the excuses they're going to trot out is going to be, business gets done at the back end of the window. Well, that's a lie. Hull, Plymouth, Derby, all did business early on in the window, all got targets through the door, and then there's us. Literally, a piece comes out in the press saying Andy Coleman is literally scrambling around with 48 hours to go in the window, hasn't got a clue what's going on. All this talk back in the last fans forum that lessons were learned. We've got Paul Watson and his fantastic data-driven recruitment to yet end up 2 transfer windows down the line where both windows we've come out short, summer and now, with the same mistakes again, leaving it last minute and then scrambling to get people over the line. We couldn't even tempt Leighton Orient into selling Ethan Galbraith to us on the final day of the transfer window for £1 million. Honestly, Andy Coleman, he's a nice guy. Yeah, he may be a nice guy, but he's absolutely awful at getting transfers done. Step aside, get a director of football in, and stop playing football manager with a real life football club.
There's been comments this week, Hugh, thanks for that, James, that he's been let down by his staff, or he's made the wrong decisions of his, some of the staff he's been working with. I mean, sounds like an excuse. Are you buying that it's not his fault, and actually it's the team that he appointed to do these things?
No, not buying anything he sells. No, he's been at the club for long enough now to get people into posts. We haven't got a director of football or anyone who knows what they're doing in the club. He's, like James just said, he hit the nail on the head. He's playing championship manager in real life. He hasn't got a clue. The Galbraith situation was an absolute joke. We've just sold him a player. Why don't we make it a part of the deal, for Christ's sake? We sell him one player, and then 2 minutes later we go, actually, can we have one of yours? No, you can't. And then he goes and has a blinder on the weekend against Man City. We're like, price is going to rocket now.
Yeah.
Useless.
We won't ask you to grade, obviously, how the quality of the players you brought in until you've actually seen them. So we'll come back in a month's time for that. But I'm not going to put up a load of tweets from fans around it, because they all pretty much say exactly the same thing as, we are a joke. We're heading to League One. But that goal against Bristol City's short half quietened that down. So I think Coleman had celebrated that goal more than any player on that pitch did, by the sounds of it. Thanks so much for that one. Last couple of weeks, if you've been watching, we've been putting together the worst ever Swansea 11, just as a bit of fun to get us through January, which we have done. Here's what the team... Oops, no, that's not the one. Get my buttons right today. Here's what the team put together. I mean, gosh, there's not some... Look at this, James. It's not so much bad players on here, but just bad players when they came to you, or players that did all right in other teams. We had to put Joey Yates in there as well because we were missing a midfielder. So who out of that is the worst of the worst and should be the captain?
Oh, I'm going to say Sam Clucas, because I just got an absolute burning hatred for him as a player, for him celebrating in front of us with the shirt up like he's the second coming of Messi. Give it to him. Absolutely give it to him.
Yeah.
I didn't need to ask you. I knew exactly what was going to happen. But we need a manager. Let us know in the comments who you would pick for captain. We need a manager, the worst ever Swansea City manager. So let's hand back over to the team for this one. While they have a quick second to think, next week we're doing the worst ever Swansea shirt. You don't need to.
2 names.
Go on, then. Go on. I know what's coming.
He's bald and he's called Bob.
Is he American, by the way?
The worst manager of all time. Probably the worst thing that's ever touched the club, and that's almost as bad as Tony Petty.
Okay. I'll debate you on that one. It's got to be the man who gets his haircut at Go Outdoors, Michael Duff. Oh my God, Michael Duff. Michael Duff. The only man who came into a club and does not get the South Wales derby at all. He was literally the antithesis of what Swansea City is. Like, whoever looked at him and thought, yeah, that man is like, going to fit how Swansea play football. He's going to get on well with the fans. No, he was. Oh my God. I kind of feel a bit of sympathy for Bob Bradley. At least Bob Bradley had a little bit of personality, and he was kind of a likable guy. Whereas Michael Duff, I'm struggling to say anything nice about the guy, to be fair.
I get that, but I think we went down from the Premier League year. Bob was there, so that didn't help.
Okay. All right. Let us know what you think in the comments. Finally, this week, of course, it's Valentine's Day this Friday. So after James and Hugh have written their cards, we want to actually get them to express their love for their first love, which, of course, is Swansea City. How did they fall in love with the club? What age were they? And who's responsible? Hugh, can you kick us off?
Yeah, I was a little bit later in life, actually, because as you can tell with the accent, I grew up in England despite all my family being from Swansea. And as a kid, my dad was always rugby. So when we went back to Swansea, we were always watching the Whites rather than the Swans. So it wasn't until I moved back when I went to university that I got a season ticket when we were in League Two. And I was there every single game with no money to get food pretty much some weeks, but I was spending it on the Swans. So, that's when I fell in love, when Trundle was scoring from halfway lines.
Brilliant. Okay. James?
For me, I've been going since about 2005, so I was lucky to sort of see the Trundle Robinson era through Kenny Jackett, Roberto Martinez. A game that sticks out in my mind, being a rather cold night in the Liberty Stadium and watching Lee Trundle score an absolute screamer from just over the halfway line. Again, just Lee Trundle, just like is one of those players. Every time he touched the ball, would just like get you out of your seat. And he was like that kid. Every kid in Swansea when they were playing in the football in the yard, all wanted to be Lee Trundle. They were all rocking the Lee Trundle haircut, trying to do rainbow flicks on people. And yeah, it was just I was really lucky to grow up in a time where we were just on the up and up all the time.
Yeah, legend.
Brilliant. Okay. Let us know your stories in the comments below. Thanks for sharing those, both of you. Have a great week in Stoke-on-Trent this weekend. Far worse places you could be. And we'll catch up with you in 7 days' time, hopefully with more points on the board and get Swansea back to mid-table. Thanks, James. Thanks, Hugh. Thank you very much for watching. Do drop us a subscribe before you go. We'll see you in 7 days' time.